Today, we're going to be talking about how improving emotional intelligence enhances decision making. And when we talk about decision making, we know that, or I should say, not all of us know, but I would argue that decision making at a high level, regardless of your stress level, emotional level, financial situation, decision making is probably the most important aspect, a tangible aspect of trading, based on, hey, am I highly emotional when I take these trades, or I make these decisions based off of making another prop account, putting another $1,000 into this, whatever it might be. Decision making is incredibly important. So we're going to talk about that here briefly. We only have one part today. It's going to be really concise. So it's covering 3 little sections. What is emotional intelligence, EQ, which will be quick, regulating emotions for better choices, and recognizing emotional patterns. And all of this is just some actionable stuff to improve your trading. And that's what we're all looking to do here. So what is emotional intelligence? And you'll also hear me talk about emotional intelligence, or refer to it as EQ. So EQ is emotional intelligence is EQ. So emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while also being able to perceive and influence the emotions of others. So most of us know a good storyteller when we see them. It's often because not only of some actionable skill sets, continually telling good stories, getting real-time feedback, maybe learning skills from other people, but typically those people have high intelligence levels, or emotional intelligence, I should say, where they're able to interpret and read other people's emotions well, to see what they're feeding off of and play more into that and steer away from things that are off-putting to that person. So that's just a real life example. So higher EQ allows for clearer thinking under pressure, which we know that trading can bring high amounts of pressure, whether it's fear, greed, stress, financially. Maybe now it's on your spouse because you've been talking about trading and you've been doing it for 4 years and there's no profits coming. Whatever the stress is coming from, the higher your emotional intelligence, the better you're going to be able to handle that pressure. And reducing emotional biases, so higher EQ can reduce emotional biases that can cloud your judgment. So practical insight for us is a trader with strong emotional intelligence can recognize impulsive urges and pause and move forward in a more analytical level, or a data-driven decision-making perspective. And that's what we're aiming for. So we all understand what it is, how it can help us. So let's talk about some actual tools for improving that stuff. So regulating emotions for better choices. Emotional regulation involves identifying triggers and managing reactions to maintain focus and objectivity. So I just want to touch on that point quickly. When we talk about identifying triggers is a buzzword in 2024. It is just one of those words that gets thrown around probably too often, and people are triggered too often. But when we look at it at an objective level, where we take away the social skew that of the buzzword that it's become, and we look at what triggers really are, emotional triggers happen all the time. The higher intelligence level you have, as far as emotional, and the more self-awareness you have, the easier you're going to pick up on these triggers. When someone says something to you and you feel a response, and it may be anger, fear, lust, whatever this emotion that is, whatever the conversation that was having or the action that was made, it becomes extremely evocative to you. These really high levels of emotion come out, and that's a trigger. And it could be when your spouse tells you to take out the trash with a certain tone in his or her voice. Whatever it might be for you, what my encouragement is just to recognize when those triggers happen, because we need to be able to take that deep breath and not react impulsively to whatever the trigger was, but feel the emotion, let it come and pass, and then react, or I should say act, in a way that you can look back on and be proud of, on a way that you can sit there and be like, okay, I'm feeling extremely angry, but the best way to move forward is to do X, Y, and Z in that order. Whatever it might be for you, these triggers are real. They happen all the time, and I encourage you guys to recognize them. And that's something I'm working on all the time. And it's helped me a lot as well, especially when talking with close friends or family or whatever it might be, and a trigger for you pops up in a conversation that you didn't even recognize. It's not a trigger for them, but all of a sudden you're really emotional and you want to react to what they said and you want to become defensive. And I've found some relief and some actual benefits from just being more self-aware of, like, okay, wow, I just, hey, I apologize for, coming at you so quickly after you said that. I'm feeling emotional response to that, and I'm honestly not sure why. I'm going to, work on that. Please continue. That stuff really, really does help improve relationships. So yeah, sorry for the quick side note, but that stuff's really powerful, and I do encourage you guys to recognize those triggers. And so instead of reacting to a loss with, I'll restart. Instead of reacting to a loss with revenge trading, a trader with high EQ reflects on the situation and adjusts calmly. Again, that's what we're aiming for. And how do we get there? By being self-aware, identifying these triggers and practicing some stuff that we're going to talk about here shortly. So a practical tip for us, an actionable tool to actually improve our decision making. Practice mindfulness techniques like deep breathing or grounding exercises to remain composed during high stress situations. And then I'm going to talk about some more potent protocols that you guys can follow to become better decision makers. So when we talk about mindfulness techniques like deep breathing or grounding, many of us who grew up in a more traditional Western household, like I believe the majority of this Discord, or this community, I should say, is, or they grow up in, like myself, grounding or deep breathing was not part of my childhood, and it wasn't part of even my, I'm still in my early adult phase or season of my life, but these techniques are extremely powerful. Not only intuitively, we've known this for thousands of years of humanity, but we also know now scientifically that things like deep breathing will help regulate cortisol and epinephrine and adrenaline out of your bloodstream, reset your carbon dioxide levels, bring your autonomic immune system or autonomic nervous system from sympathetic to parasympathetic, which is the fight or flight to the rest and digest. And that's what we're trying to get into, is a place of calmness, a place of focus when we make decisions based on stuff that can really affect our finances, like trading, and stuff that, going deeper than that, you always hear about talking about, or mentors or mentees talking about discipline. How do I get better discipline? Teach me about discipline. It's whatever it might be. But when we do things like deep breathing and grounding exercises, it helps us get in a state where it is much easier to become a disciplined person. When you're highly emotional and you have a lot of stress, you're setting yourself up for failure. When you're really, really struggling with your relationship and you've got a really poor night's sleep and you are dehydrated and there's another stressor, maybe it's Christmas, there's family's coming into town, you don't know how to deal with this person, that person. There's a lot of stress going on. And then you sit down and you try to be extremely disciplined when it comes to trading. It's not how life works. It's, that all that stuff is going to bleed into this stuff. And what we're looking for here is optimization when it comes to your decision-making protocols. So how to optimize that stuff? Practicing deep breathing, doing a pre-trade checklist where every morning you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down at 6 o'clock, or if you're on PST, I'm going to sit down at 6 o'clock, 30 minutes before market open, and I'm going to go through I'm going to have 15 deep breaths. I'm going to go through all the news that just came out. I'm going to check through the Discord, make sure I'm up to date on everything. I'm going to review my risk parameters, and then market's going to open and I'm going to move forward. Oh, and I'm also going to check my charts, whatever it might be for you guys. But setting yourself up to be more disciplined is how you become disciplined. I know it sounds, almost elementary when I say that, but it's so true. When you get poor night's sleep, crappy diet, a lot of other stressors, you're setting yourself up for failure. So another practical tip when we talk about, how to remain composed in these high stress situations that we put ourselves in, like trading, when we get fear and greed and other primal emotions that are coming out, doing deliberately hard things is also a great way to deal with high stress situations. So what is something that you don't want to do that is beneficial for your overall health, and can help you better combat stress? Things like working out. And I say working out like high cardio, like HIIT workouts, or zone 2 cardio, or resistance training. You are doing something that's hard, and it's increasing stress levels on a physiological level, where your cortisol goes up, epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, dopamine after the fact. All this stuff is increased when you're working out, but maybe you love it. So maybe you have to look towards something like deliberate cold exposure. When you get into cold water, take a cold shower, your nervous system typically immediately shifts from rest and digest to high stress, fight or flight. Your breathing increases, your heart rate increases, and your body's flooded with adrenaline to get out of that situation, and cortisol increases as well. What's really beneficial about that is not only all the physiological stuff that happens, where you increase the healthy brown fat around your organs and helps fight all this stuff. I could go on and on about why you should do deliberate cold exposure, but on a level that is relating to trading, when you put yourself in deliberately high stress situations and your heart rate's increased, your breath is increased, and you have to force yourself to slow your breath down, to slow your heart rate down, and just turn around, get that cold water everywhere, wash up, scrub up in that really cold water, or sit in that cold plunge. You're dealing in real time with high stress on your body. So when you do that daily, and then you sit down in front of the computer, and then you feel yourself becoming evocative. You're really scared because last week you blew a count or two or whatever it might be, and you're sitting down again, and you like the trade setup, but you're fearful, or maybe you're feeling greedy, you want to revenge trade, whatever it might be. Being self-aware, knowing that these triggers are happening. Okay, I'm fearful because of this happened last week, and I'm afraid it's going to happen again. That's my expectation. How am I going to approach this more deliberately? But on a real level, if you're doing deliberately hard things like deliberate cold exposure, you're able to now better handle those emotions. Like, okay, I can feel my heart rate increase. I can feel my breath shorten. I can feel stressed, but I'm able to sit back in my chair, maybe put my toes on the ground, take my deep breath, and move forward analytically. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. It's just data-driven decision making is what makes good traders long term, because it's not a lack of good strategies out there to make money. I always talk to people when I talk about the profession, and there's a lot of perspectives that people might have when you hear high risk day traders or whatever it might be. But then you talk to tons of other people that are like, oh, I trade this strategy, and this is my win rate, this is my profit loss for quarter four, and then talk to another person, oh, this is my strategy. So all these people are making money, but so it's not a lack of the risk parameters. It's not a lack of your strategy. It's not a lack of the setup. Of course, that technical knowledge is important. It's essential, but it's not sufficient. And so that's what we need to get to. Is what is necessary to become profitable long term and consistent. And it's stuff like dealing with these emotions, these high stress situations. And how do we do that? Practical stuff, becoming self-aware, journaling, deliberate cold exposure. So hopefully that stuff makes sense. And I know we talk about this all the time, but there's a reason we talk about this all the time. And so I hope you guys are listening. I have one little last part for you guys, so bear with me to the end, probably a couple more minutes. So recognizing emotional patterns. So how do we identify these triggers and do stuff? It's quite simple. So use self-awareness to identify reoccurring emotional patterns that impact decision-making, such as overconfidence after a win or fear after a loss. So how do we do it? Keep a journal. Keep a journal to log trades and associated emotions. So I took a loss. I felt frustrated, maybe a little angry, sad, whatever it is, journal. Then make another loss, journal. Make another loss, journal. Make a loss. Then you're going to be able to look back and be like, okay, I find myself being, after those losses, moving into the next trade setup, even though it's aligned perfectly with all my entry model. It looks perfect. This is what I look for. The price action is great. There's no news coming out within the next 30 minutes. I'm ready to go into my trade, but I'm fearful. And that is affecting my decision making. I'm scaling down, whatever it might be. And then the same thing on the flip side. Hey, I won here, I won here, I won here, I won here. How am I feeling? Did I overtrade after that? Did I become overconfident? Did I jump into entry models that really weren't fitting, but I kind of forced my perspective onto the market, and I'm not making analytical decisions based on the data in front of me? Whatever it might be, guys, journaling is just such a powerful way that you can look at the data. Like, okay, yeah, it may think of data as hard set, numerals. Like, hey, this is my win-loss ratio. This is my profit-loss ratio. These are the contracts. These are my max lot size at 55 ticks. Whatever it might be. Sure, that data is important and can help improve greatly, but there's also hard data and great value to be had in writing down what you're feeling. And that may feel a little weird to you, but this is what is necessary if you're struggling. Maybe you've been trading for some time now and you don't have a lack of understanding. You have probably a pretty solid base of the technical analysis of this stuff, and your risk parameters may be really good, and you're still struggling. It's like, what is that? Time to start jotting this stuff down, making some data points and looking back over a week, over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like, okay, I've identified my triggers, and I need to improve in this area, and I'm really strong in this area. I'm going to help. Well, maybe this entry model has proven to give me a win rate of 74%, and my profit is even higher than that 74% than what I'm risking. So whatever it might look like for you guys, this journaling stuff is really, really important. So it can help, identify patterns and make informed adjustments. And we're looking for. When I was growing up, my dad always said that what you can't measure, you can't manage. And how do we manage our emotions, our data? How do we manage all this stuff? You got to measure it. Just write this stuff down. And it's really not complicated, but I would argue many of you guys aren't doing it. So I highly encourage you to try. The only money you're spending is for the ink and the paper that you're using. And I would argue that you're saving money in the long term because of how much it will help you succeed, and it will start to help you build, not only prevent losses, but start to make some good money from this stuff. So I leave you guys with this. Improving emotional intelligence enhances decision making by fostering self-awareness and emotional regulation. By improving these skills, you can make more rational, well-rounded decisions in all aspects of your life. It's simple. And I think when it comes to psychology, it comes to trading, when it comes to risk parameters, when it comes to technical analysis, this whole trading game, the more we're able to break it down and explain it to our little nephew or niece, the better we're going to understand it, and the better we're going to make an actionable plan to improve from that. So this broad, all this nomenclature and stuff, I mean, yeah, it's necessary. You need to know this stuff, but boil it down. What's really happening? Am I struggling with what area? Am I struggling with technical analysis, my risk parameters, and my emotions? It's like, okay, I need to take a step back. I probably shouldn't trade anymore. But if you have good risk management, you have good emotional control, maybe it's the technical aspect that you're lacking. Measure this stuff out, guys. Make a plan to improve this section, and execute on it. Make it simple, and you'll do great moving into 2025. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys want to open it up to, so I want to hear what you guys are doing for New Year's and New Year's Eve today, moving to 2025. Can't believe it. We are moving so quick. Joshua said, I need your help. I'm going to start over again. I lost my 3K live account 4 months ago, and I've been in it. And ever since I lost it, I've been trading PA accounts. So what do you need help with? What is the issue that you're facing right now? Sure, you can make it broad and say, yeah, I'm faced with not making money in the stock market. Yeah, That's understandable, but we need to break that down on a real level, just like what I was talking about. I think I'm starting 6K, and I need help to manage it by taking trades. Oh, so you funded your own account. Um, okay, well, that can be really beneficial for some people, it can be detrimental to others. I'm thinking maybe risk less than 5%. Is heavy. 6K, I'm trying to do the math. I'm bad at math. My sergeant in the Army said never do math in public, but um, I would recommend 2%. I know the smaller your account, the harder it is to trade those small percentages. Like if you get a $2,000 drawdown on a prop account, you can't be trading 1 to 2%. It's just not feasible. You have to leverage a little bit more. But if you're opening a live account, you need to be really, really conscientious of what your risk parameters are, because you're risking more than the $80 that you are on a prop firm, whatever it is. So absolutely less than 5%. Let me point you in this direction, Josh, if you haven't checked it out, or Joshua, I don't know which you prefer. This is a decent guide for you. We can go more in depth, but if you're talking about struggling with actual risk management, check out that useful information. The first section is on risk parameters, and it's a general outline for prop firms, and it was based off of Apex because that was the most popular at the time. Top Step and some others are probably starting to swing. People are swinging in that direction, but you can look at the max lot size I have recommended, and then look at the account drawdown. So granted, this is based off of a unrealized trailing profit drawdown, so it's going to be different than a stagnant 6K live account or whatever it might be, but you can kind of get pretty dang close. So if I click on that really quickly and kind of walk through it. So where's my drawdown? Let's see. No, I have a trailing drawdown of, the closest would probably be that 250K account, and the max I recommend is 12 micros. But I don't have the math off the top of my head of what that's leveraging per trade. Let me see if I have it. Yeah, I don't have it on there, but you got to be shooting for less than 5%. You really do. But it just depends. It's hard on those small accounts, and I get it. I don't mean to rant because it's a weird position to be in where you want to make more than $50 a day, which is totally understandable. But you also need to be conscientious. And what I recommend more than anything is becoming consistent first. And that's why I always point traders to prop firms. Like, hey, can you consistently pass the evaluation within 4 weeks, 6 weeks? Because I think people rush through that and then they change the risk parameters when it comes to the live account, and you're just developing inconsistencies in your trading pattern, and it can be dangerous. And what we're trying to do here is develop discipline. So I usually point people in that direction, but it sounds like you're set on the live account. So aim for less than 5% on a real level, maybe 10 micros. And I know that may seem small. You maybe be going more, maybe less, but I would max out around 10 micros. But you can do the math, be like, okay, that would be risking on a 55 tick stop loss 3.5% or whatever it is. I'm bad at math, so I can't tell you off the top of my head, but let me know. And yeah, Joshua, if you have questions about non-risk management stuff, psychology, technical analysis, I'll point you towards JoJo. But if it's psychology or risk management, emotional intelligence or emotional wherewithal, I'll point you in some good, potent and practical, actionable steps to improve that stuff. Honest Money says, John, thanks so much for your encouragement, education, and time spent with us. Thanks for starting E with Joe and Braden. It has been a pure blessing. Happy New Year and blessing to you. Thanks for joining up, Honest Money, just to say that. I really, really appreciate that. That's so cool. It's been a pleasure, truly, being part of this community and talking with you guys and be able to, do this for a job. I love studying this stuff. I love sociology. I love psychology. I love biology. I love studying humans, and that's all I'm about. And for myself as well. So this helps me when I study this stuff. I like being able to articulate this, break it down, give it to you guys in a concise manner. It's just cool to be able to do this. So if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. So I truly, my heart is deeply thankful for this opportunity to be here, and I appreciate the kind words. Right there with you, John. Appreciate you sharing this stuff with others. Yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. Yeah, thank you, man. Um, well, it is New Year's Eve, folks. So I hope you can look back on this year, 2024, and not have any regrets, regardless of how regretful your actions might have been. I hope you can look back at that stuff as some truly just those experiences and taking them as what they are, learning experiences for you to improve. I mean, that's what the humanity is all about, making it better for ourselves and those to follow. But I really do wish that for a lot of you, because I know a lot of things happen in life where we wish they didn't happen. But instead of wishing that they didn't happen, maybe talk to God and ask, hey, what were you, if I missed it then, what were you trying to teach me during this hard time in my life, this trial, this experience that I went through? And look at that as not regretful, saying, own up to it. I did that, or that happened to me, and I'm going to look at that and use it to help others or myself in the future. So moving into 2025, I hope you guys make some goals for yourselves. I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions, but goals are important to me. Others, not so much, whatever works for you, but maybe setting up a 3-month goal, and then you can look back. Maybe it's dieting, maybe it's trading, maybe it's fitness level, whatever it might be. Make a quarterly goals and look back on it, and the end of March, moving into April, and be like, okay, I'm here. Let me take another 3-month stab at this thing and go again. But be safe tonight. I hope you guys are really going to make some good decisions tonight. I want you guys to have fun, enjoy time with friends, family, by yourself, staying in, whatever it might be, whatever you're doing. Just have a good time. Tell your friends that you love them. Tell your parents, or if they're still with us, whatever it is in your life, tell your loved ones that you love them. We often think that we have more time than we really do. So appreciate you guys a ton. Appreciate you guys joining up and spending your valuable time here with me as well. So I hope you got something from it. And I will catch you guys, as cliche as it is, next year. See ya.